Well, I forgot my belt, so I will be back. It looks like the neighbor, this bitch neighbor, really is moving out. She's actually got the windows open, unblind. Alright, I'll be back. It shouldn't be more than a minute. All right. Well, this company that we had the loan on, the title loan or registration loan or whatever you want to call it, just called me saying that we still owe them $20, but they're waiting on a phone call from somebody to see if they can waive that $20. And I told them, hey, you know, you guys even gave us like $33 back. So, you know, whatever. So I'm just waiting on a phone call from them, waiting on a phone call from whoever they're waiting from. And that's that. Morning was okay. My wife slept in. She has 2 jobs, and as I've said before in previous videos, she woke up right at 4:30. That was when I set my alarm off for her to wake up. And she gets up and brushes her teeth and then comes back to bed and flops down on the bed. And then 5:30 rolls around. Her job's at 5. So 5:30 rolls around and we wake up and she's like, oh shit. I'm like, what? And she's like, it's 5:30 already. I was like, yeah. She's like, I'm late. I was like, yeah. Why didn't you wake me up? Well, I did. When the alarm went off at 4:30, you got up, you turned the alarm off, the alarm that was set right above your head, and I turned off my alarm on my phone. And she's like, I don't remember doing all that. It's like, well, that's how it happened. And I told her to call in, and since she has a second job, to tell them, or to tell the job that she's late for, that she accidentally drove to the wrong workplace. And apparently that worked. So she's now at that work. At about 1 o'clock, she gets off, hopefully, and goes to the other job. I say it's her first job. It's actually her second job that she was late for. Reason why I say it's her first job is because it comes first in the day. She actually works for another company, started out working for another company about a year or two ago, and that's from 1:30 to 9:30, technically 10, but she doesn't ever take her breaks. And so she was late for that morning job, and I guess she was accepted back because she told them a convincing story. She's got to watch that. She's done this multiple times over the course of many different jobs. In fact, the first job she has, the afternoon job, she used up almost all her what's it called, paid leave time. She used it almost all of it up with the excuse that she had to go to the doctor's, which is convincing because she's bipolar, but that's not the reason why she really was late. She was late because she didn't she woke up and then went back to sleep and didn't reset the clock. So what I might have to do, and it pains me because I only got 4 hours of sleep last night before the alarm went off, and I wasn't able to get back to sleep. What I'm gonna have to do is set up my alarm on my phone for a second alarm. Have multiple alarms, one that goes off at 4:30, and then have another alarm that goes off at, say, 4:10 or 4:40, and then she won't have an excuse to skip work. But then that's going to give me even less time to go back to sleep to get ready for my work. Speaking of sleep, yawn. That reminds me, one of my favorite video games is the original Resident Evil, where the snake, the poisonous snake in the game is called Yawn. Don't know who named it Yawn. I don't remember ever seeing any scriptures or any files or anything on the original game about that snake and its name. Just that it was a poisonous snake. Now, there is, excuse me, in that game, there is a way to not get poisoned. And the way is to, when you run past that column that's in the center of the room, it triggers the snake, the boss battle. What you want to do is fire around and then run to the other side, stay behind it, closer to the door, the exit. Stay on that side of the door, or of the pillar. Fire around, then quickly run to the other side of the pillar. And visually, it'll be a left and right side. So you'll start out on your right, or the character's left, and then you will fire around at the snake, then run to the other side. So say we're going by our visual cues. You start on the right, run to the left, fire around, run to the right, fire around, run to the left, fire around, and repeat that over and over and over again. And what the snake tries to do is it tries to get at you straight on. It tries to beeline it to you. And what happens is when you run from one side of the pillar to the other, it gets confused on which way to go because there's an obstacle in its way. So when you run onto one side of the pillar, it tries to go onto that same side of the pillar by backing up a little bit and going around, and and so on and so forth. Well, what happens is it's basically in perpetual stuckness, and it cannot get you. Now, after the battle, after you've killed the snake, you still have to move around on the pillars and all that stuff, around the pillar, because even after you defeat it, it still can bite you. So you need to still stay away from that snake, even though the battle is over with. When the music dies and everything, you still have to move around because it will try to still get you. Now, I believe in Chris's story mode, it is, no, I believe in Jill's story mode, it's better for you to not get bitten. And in Chris's mode, it is better to get bitten. Well, no, in Chris's mode, it doesn't matter. In Chris's mode, you get saved by Rebecca actually coming to you. In Jill's mode, somebody comes in, picks you up, and takes you back to the healing room, the save room, or whatever you want to call it, the one with the medicine. So, theoretically, in Jill's mode, you do not want to get bitten. Simply because you have a very, very long run back to the door, because it's on completely the other side of the building, of the mansion. Whereas if you don't get bit, then you're still on the correct side of the building. That guy's gonna make an illegal U-turn even though there's a roundabout right there. Idiot. And that's the thing about that video game. One other thing about that video game is in order to save both women, there's not really that much to say about the needs. All you have to do is get basically all the you need to get all the what are they called? You need to get all the MO discs in order to save both characters in Chris's mode. Now, there are ways that you could fail, but not very many. The only two ways, Rebecca gets shot. Now, if you did something stupid, I don't remember what it is, but if you did something stupid, she does die with that gunshot. But it's very hard to get that scenario. I've played through it so many different ways and have only gotten that scenario once. And I don't remember what I did to screw that up. The other scenario is not to get the MO discs. And there's one in the mansion, at least one in the mansion. And if you don't get that one, you can't go back to the mansion. And you're screwed. Because by the time you get into the research facility, the door locks behind you and you can't go back through that door. Now, the other thing that well, no, there is no other thing to that. Anyways, with Jill's mode, though, it's very hard to actually save both of the characters. Both of the male characters, Barry and Chris. First, the easy thing is if you miss the MO disc in the mansion, you will not be able to save Chris. However, and then there is that scenario where you cannot save either one of them. Now, there is a way to save Barry. And there's very many different theories as to what actually needs to be done in order to save Barry. And the theory, the main theory that I try to follow is every time you see Barry you want to select the option. If it gives you an option, you want the option to always be stay with you. But I think the only turning point that decides his fate is when you go down into the grave from the second yawn snake, which is not poisonous. When you go down that hole and you go to the grave, the option to go down the ladder to continue on or to stay there. Now, it does give you an option to go down the ladder or not. It does not say wait for Barry. Yes or no. What you actually have to do is literally stand there and just wait for Barry to come back. And I think that is really the only option that you need to save him. I could be wrong. Like I said, I try to, every time I get an option for Barry to tag along with me, I take it. I don't just let him go off on his own. Because my theory is that every time he disappears, he's talking to Wesker. And, you know, he's being with Wesker instead of with the good guys. Well, after Barry gets a second rope and then drops it down and then has you come back up, and they have their little discussion, you could now go back down the hole and then into that grave and then continue on with no ill effects. So I think that is the only option that needs to be taken care of in order to get Barry to stay alive. And I guess there's a couple other things in that game that I have never been able to unlock. In the end credits, they show little snippets of gameplay. And one of them is of Rebecca. Actually, no, I must admit, now that I remember it, I got this once. And I don't know how I did it. I don't know what events you need to do to get it. But in the end credits, they show a little snippet of Rebecca being hunted down by one of the hunters, the little frog characters, in that study where you get the botanical Bible, or whatever you want to call it, book. Now, when they show that, they don't show the book on the table where you get it. So I know it has to be after some point you grab that book. And that, I mean, that's almost a dead given because, that's almost a dead giveaway because, you can get that book very, very early in the game. So the question is how do you get... I want to know, if anybody that watches this knows how to get that scene where Rebecca is being chased down by the hunter in that library. How do you... What are the steps that you need to do to get that scene? There's another scene that I have gotten before multiple times that I have since forgotten how to get it. Every time I play Chris or Jill, and you rescue the other partner from using the MO discs, they hug each other. Well, ever since I've got it a few times, I've tried to get it again. But every time I get to that point, they never hug. So that's another thing that I'm trying to figure out how to get again. Let's see. There's a few other end credit scenes that I want to try to get, but don't remember how to get them, and I don't remember what scenes they are. But the biggest thing, if anyone has the original Resident Evil, the one where in the starting credits, just before you enter the house, you see Chris Redfield light up a cigarette and smoke it. I want that copy. I used to have it. I believe it broke at some point when I was young, or I sold it or traded it in or something. If you have that version of Chris Redfield lighting up a cigarette in the beginning credits, I want it. I'm not going to pay some absurd price for it, but I will pay for it. It may take me some time to get some money to pay for it, but I desperately want it. In fact, in my CD case that I have for my video games, I even have reserved a spot for it in that case, in case I find that copy. So if anybody knows somebody that has that version of it, a US copy of it, please either donate it to me, give it to me, or sell it to me. I will definitely take it. That was one of the biggest mistakes I have ever done, was to sell that game or have it damaged or something. And I better get to work because I just saw lightning. It's not going off right now, but look at those dark clouds. In fact, I'm looking at it through my phone, and it's not even that dark on the phone compared to what it really is. So, I better get going before it starts raining. And I also hope this tree that I parked next to does not fall on my car. So, I bid you farewell.